Alright, so you want to learn how to play two notes at the same time. Basically, you want to play a chord on a bass guitar. Typically, you play one note at a time on a bass, but there are some genres that require that you play chords, so let's learn how to do that. So I can only assume that you want to hold down two notes at the same time from reading your post. And there are two ways that I can see where this would come about. You would either need to hold down multiple notes on the same fret but different strings, or you would need to hold down multiple notes on different strings and different frets. So I'm going to show you both ways, okay? The first way would be if I need to hold down the same fret but multiple strings. I would use one finger and bar across those strings. A bar just means holding multiple strings with the same finger. So in this case, I'm going to use my little index finger here for demonstration. So let's just say that we want to play the third fret of the D string and the third fret of the G string at the same time. I would take my finger and I would flatten it out, okay, and I would hold down both of these strings on the third fret. Now with the right hand, I would go ahead and, instead of alternating with finger style, I would just go ahead and play at the same time. So there's a common sort of misconception out there that you should always play with an arch in your fretting hand. And generally, students are taught this at the beginning, that this is the proper hand position. And that's why your wrist hurts so much when you start to learn how to play bass. But as you can see, I held my finger flat for that example. And when you start to hold multiple strings, whether you're doing a left-hand mute or you're doing a chord or arpeggiating a chord that requires you to hold down multiple strings, especially with the same finger, you're going to notice that your hand tends to go flat. Otherwise, there's really no way that, at least I've been able to find, that you can hold down the strings you need to hold down when you're muting or playing chords without being flat. So that's just one of those rules that can be broken as long as you can make a good tone come out of the strings. It's just a practicality thing. So now if you're playing with a pick, instead of, plucking at the same time with both of your fingers here on your right hand, you would just stroke it at the same time. Downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. Okay. So the other way is, say you have to play different frets and different strings. Well, you have to use more than one finger at this point. So one of the more common shapes that you find this is in power chords, or kind of these semi-power chords where you're just playing a root and a fifth. So we'll start out with that first because it's only two notes and a power chord is three. I'll show you the power chord at the end. But let's say that the song is in the key of G and you want to play the root note G, third fret E string here. And then you also want to play the fifth, which is the D up here, fifth fret on the A string. So I'm holding the G down with my index, and I'm holding the D down with my ring finger. I don't know if you can see that. Just like that. And then I'd play both of these at the same time. Now let's add the last note to a power chord. A power chord is your root note, a fifth, and then an octave. So in this case, if we're playing a G power chord, the octave is going to be, we're going to be using our pinky here to hold down the fifth fret of the D string. Add the fifth there, so yeah. Index, ring, pinky. Hold these down, and just for demonstration, we'll hit all three strings with these three fingers. Now, I normally don't play with three fingers on my right hand, but just to show you what that sounds like. Now, these hand positions are useful not only when you're playing chords, but also when you're doing arpeggios. So sometimes you want to take a chord and break it up into its component parts, its individual notes, and play them one at a time. So if we took that power chord and we broke it up into an arpeggio, this is what it would sound like. Or we can mix it up. It doesn't have to be ascending and descending in a linear fashion. We can go. That's a way to make up bass lines, if you know what key the song is in. But the point that I'm trying to get across here is that it makes sense to hold your hand in this position than to instead move your fingers around in order to hit these notes. So you don't want to do that, because it's really just wasted energy, and you're going to suffer with your speed, as opposed to doing that. Holding the hand position and letting them all ring. Okay? Hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.